Hi, my name is Danial Hadizadeh. I'm the CEO of Mitrex. Mitrex is an integrated photovoltaic system mainly focused on building integration as well as other products. With over 40% of gas emissions globally coming from transportations and building, we made it our mission to come up with products, develop, design, and mass produce products that they can reverse these numbers and bring us back to the levels that are sustainable. The 40% comes from mostly vehicles, transportation, and generally the buildings that we have. We divided our attention into two segments. And this is our why. This is the reason behind everything that we do. If we can transform the buildings from non-sustainables to sustainable and green energy buildings, both for retrofit and new ones, we have a chance to reverse this action. We have a chance to reverse the climate change and go back to the sustainable levels. As we speak, there is a complete frozen state of Texas. They are not connected to any other state. They are an energy island, and the hurricanes and the cold weather and the climate change is actually costing them their lives, their businesses, and the whole state is frozen. These are all signs of climate change. This is not weather, this is a climate change. 5 years ago, Ted Cruz, he tweeted that he will believe into climate change if the state of Texas freezes over. Well, there you go, Mr. Cruz. It's all frozen. And this is the time to believe into scientists. One of the things we learned also during the pandemic that we are going through is if we do not believe in science, if we do not follow science, there is not much hope for humanity to exist. We cannot fix everything with money. We cannot print money, and we cannot just create a stock markets and just looking at finance and lawyers to fix us. This is something that needs real action. It needs real product. It needs a real change. This is not something to be fixed by agreement and contract. This is something that we have to change the way we are doing it. If Einstein said doing the same thing and expecting different results is insanity, then this is the time not to be insane. We have been driving the same cars for the past 100 years. We have been building the houses and structures the same way for the past 100 years. If we do not change it, we will end up paying for it with our children and grandchildren, and they will not be able to enjoy Earth as we did for the past thousands of years. At Mitrex, we have a triangle. This triangle we'll use this triangle as our glasses. This is our point of view to the world around us. This triangle has a top. How much does it cost? It has the side. How does it look? And it has the next side. How much can we produce? How fast can we produce it? Once the triangle is completed, then we call it a Mitrex product and we can launch it. In order for the product to achieve all these three segments, especially the cost, the delivery, and the look, it has to be integration. Mitrex and integration are equal weight when it comes to explaining what Mitrex is. Mitrex is an integrated solar photovoltaic system. The integration is the key, because once we integrate a product, we are creating a model that can have negative dollar per watt. What it means is if we were to spend $100,000 on a windows of a building, but right now we spend the same $100,000 and receiving $2,000 a month on the energy, all of a sudden we did not invest into the solar, but we are also receiving $2,000 for it. I'm just giving you one example of a simple calculation. How can we achieve it? How can we have the product that has millions of dollars of R&D and the technology embedded in it, but it costs the same? And that's the art of Mitrex. That's what we created. And that's a business model that makes sense for the customer, for us, and the world. At Mitrex, when we design our products, we are making sure that every single person involved in the design of the product, the users of the product, and the future of the product, they're all connected together. When it comes to designing any building product, the first step is the architect. We have to make sure from the architecture point of view, and the architects who are going to use the product, they are not facing limitations. That's why our cladding material, we have spent numerous years and several years of R&D to make sure we can have majority of the sizes required, and it's a flexible sizing just like any other construction product. When it comes to design, color, texture, We have unlimited designs, colors, and textures that can be applied, which is very rare when it comes to traditional and conventional construction material. At the same time, by investing heavily into production line that allow us to produce thousands of square feet per day. As a matter of fact, we can turn around a typical high-rise building in 3 to 4 days for production of the material. Our business model consists of two major segments. Number one, DPA. If there is any project that requires a direct purchase of our product, we are willing to sell the product at a very reasonable price so they can utilize it into their systems and to their building. Strategy number two and the system number two for us is to stay a partner with the building and have a power purchase agreement to lower the upfront cost even lower. And we finance it internally. This is not something that's financed by anyone else. This is part of our business model. And we sell these products, we install the product, and we stay with the building for the next 30 years. The energy that's being generated by our product being sold back to the building with the agreements in place, it's being sold lower than market price, typically 20-25% below market price, just to make sure the clients are enjoying green renewable energy as well as a lower cost throughout the next 30 years for them. In our turnkey service, we make sure that the client, they receive a full turnkey service from Mitrex. That includes permits, wiring, installation, brackets, solar panels, which are all being produced under one roof in our vertically integrated factory in Etobicoke, Ontario. Our goal is to create the world's largest microgrid company in the world. And that goal can only have three winners: the consumers, the earth, and us. We don't want anyone to lose in any aspect of the deal into this transaction, from the cost view, from the global sustainability point of view, from the installation. Everything is done in a manner that everyone is winning, and at the end, the only thing that we are receiving, if you look at it from outside, is energy that we are getting from the sun. That's what's the only free item within our scope. That's what's making our business model make sense. It's the sun. And as long as the sun rises every morning, we can keep doing this business and we can keep turning the wheel until we get to a point that we live in a society, we live on a planet that's all renewable energy, all being recycled, and the carbon embodied in the material is at the lowest possible level. One of the difficulties of innovation and innovating new product in construction industry is implementation. It might be a great product in a lab or in a production line, but it has to be implemented into a building. In order to do that, a lot of products, they fail in between because they don't have the proper integration or the API to connect themselves to the building. At Mitrex, we look at this puzzle in front of us, which is the construction world, and we see the missing puzzle. All of our products, they have the outline of that missing puzzle, so we don't need to change anything in our building. The architects, they don't need to change anything. The builders, they don't need to deal with new difficulties or complications. Anyone on site, they don't need to deal with anything new. It's all on us and how we integrate them already in our production line. When the product arrives on site, everything is done. It comes as one single module which has integrated solar, and it's ready for installation by our certified and trained installers on site. We look at this puzzle, we shape our shape according to the missing piece of this puzzle, and we just plug it in. Once we plug that in, the building is complete, the construction is complete, the architecture is complete, and it's all embedded into our system. And that's the technology of Mitrex. One of the ways that we look at our product line and we look at how do we achieve the next level is by looking at nature. We have 2 trees in front of our office, and every time I look at them, I can see the leaves on these trees, especially in the springtime. And it's always amazing to me that these trees, they are producing everything internally. The leaves, the roots, and everything is integrated. You don't see a tree with a source of energy like a solar farm next to it to produce energy. It's all integrated into the leaves. They use the sunlight, they break the CO2, they use the oxygen, they send out the oxygen, and they use the carbon to create the body. If you have a plant and you're looking at your plant, you just have to water your plant and give it enough sun. The soil is not being transformed into the fruits and to the leaves and to the body of the plant. It's the carbon. Basically, the trees are growing out of thin air. Once we have a tree or we have a plant, every time we are looking at those leaves, they came out of thin air. They didn't come from the soil or the sun. They use the energy of the sun to break the CO2 and create this fruit or anything else that we can consume. That's the beauty of nature. Our buildings should be the same. Our buildings should be self-sustainable, they should be completely integrated, and we do not need to have a power line or the grid down the road in the future that's gonna send the energy to our building and create pollution somewhere else. This should be all integrated, self-sustainable, and that's our goal in Mitrex. Our goal is really to create a building that's as good as a tree, that's as efficient as a tree. The future of Mitrex is actually getting more clear to us. We can see the future. Now, we have products that are for military application, we have products that are for building integration, we are working on products that are for infrastructure, roads, and the future of Mitrex is actually clear. Mitrex is going to be the world's largest microgrid energy company with variety of products that are being integrated into different market segments. One of the goals that we have is to lower the cost of all these products. As I said in the beginning, we are looking at a triangle. How do we lower the cost? How do we make them look better? And how do we produce them faster? These three goes hand in hand. Our fully automated lines, we have done our factory number 1. We are working on factory number 2 to design and implement in the coming months. And our goal is to have fully automated lines to lower the cost and at the same time produce more product. These products, the more we produce them, the more positive effect we have on the global warming. This is the opposite of precast panels and aluminums. As we produce more precast panel, we have actually worsened the global warming. We are not helping it, we are making it worse. Our system is in the reverse. Not only we have lower carbon embodied, but also we have the negative carbon in the future. We are taking away the carbon. In the building industry, in the BIPV, our goal is not to sell products. Our ultimate goal is to basically deliver the product for free or close to free, install it on a building, and we just get paid from the energy. If the windows on a building are costing hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, or the cladding costing millions of dollars, our goal is to be able to do them at a much lower cost, close to zero, and that's what we call it, product as a service or energy as a service, because our goal is to produce more renewable energy. And by doing so, we can have buildings that are completely off-grid. We are doing buildings that are completely renewable energy, source of renewable energy, and these are the buildings that will transform the way we live. In Canada, we have a goal to reach a net zero emission by 2050. At the same time, we have a goal to plant 2 billion trees by 2050. The only way we can achieve these numbers is electrification of our cars, which already started and a lot of great companies are working on it. But on the building industry side, the only way we can achieve it is number 1, change the regulation. When it comes to building new structures and new buildings, there should be new regulation. There should have enough power for the charging stations for those cars, and at the same time, the building itself should be a lot more improved when it comes to energy efficiency, when it comes to energy generation, and when it comes to energy distribution. From our point of view, microgrid is the solution. We don't need to put more push on our existing and failing power grid. We don't want to experience what Texas is experiencing, in the next few years. Microgrid would eliminate all those issues. Microgrid will allow the buildings to generate their own energy, use it for charging the cars or the HVAC system, heating, cooling system, or the lighting system. And by doing that, we can access the retrofit market. The retrofit market is what's going to change the way things have been done in Canada. It's the first stage that government of Canada should engage in. Retrofitting the old buildings will reach that net zero emission goal by 2050. At the same time, as a simple example, if we do 50 buildings a year for the next 30 years, we don't need to plant 2 billion trees. That's equivalent of 5 billion trees planted. That's a lot more than the goal and the target. And that's not just stopping the emissions, that's reversing the emissions. That's what we are looking for. We are not looking just to stop. This is a time to reverse. If we do not take the carbon out of the air, if we do not use the products with lower carbon embodied, then we are basically going back to square one. If we continue with the same pace, there is no hope. The hope is how to reverse these emissions and how to go back. There are areas in the sustainability that they have gotten the least amount of attention. We are all looking at cars because we can see the smoke coming out of them. We are looking at airplanes because we can see the smoke lines in the air, but When we turn around, there are billions of cubic meters of concrete being poured every year, and concrete has one of the highest carbon embodied product. It's heavy, it's difficult to move. Every time we move them, we're producing more carbon. The production of the concrete also emits a lot of carbon. So in order to avoid that, we have to come up with products with a lower amount of embodied carbon in them. If you're looking at Earth, if the aliens are looking at us from outside, they will see that we are going to Middle East, or we are going to other part of the world, to Gulf of Mexico or Texas. We're drilling, we're going down, we're getting the oil, we are refining it and turning it into the gas. We bring it to our cars, we burn it, and then we're just creating more CO and CO2s and other gases that are not healthy, and they're harmful for our planet. And I'm sure if they're seeing that, they're laughing at us. It doesn't make any sense. We have the sun shining at us every day, and yet we go to other areas and create this pollution. All we have to do is just to stop for a second, look at what we are doing, and think about it. I mean, when you do something different, in the beginning, everyone is kind of opposing it, and they are laughing at it, or they think it's wrong, and this is not the way their fathers have done it. But that's not the way the world has evolved, and that's not why we have got to here. If we're always going to look back and repeat what we were doing in the past, then nothing will ever change. This is the time to change. This is the time to stop, think, and evaluate one more time. Why not use the new materials? What's wrong with them? Is it the cost? Is it the complexity of the installation? Is it the way they look? If there are products that they have answered all of the above, there is no reason not to integrate them and not to use them on a mass scale. Change is hard, and that's what we need right now. If we think this is hard, then we have to wait and see in the next 20, 30 years. That's a real life difficulty. Right now, the difficulty is just changing the mindset, just looking at things one more time. In 20, 30, 40 years, the difficulty is, where do we get food? Where are the next massive hurricanes coming from? There will be hurricanes that's going to take over cities and destroy cities after cities. And those are not things that we want our kids to be part of. Kids that are born today, they will be in their 50s and 60s, and there will be nothing left on this planet. We all pretend and we all try to say, you know what, this is going to turn around. Someone will fix it. Someone else will fix it. Just like the pandemic, no one is going to fix it. If we don't do it, no one's going to do it. We all had to put masks. We all had to sit home. We all had to quarantine. That was a duty for all of us. Global warming is the same thing. We all have to participate. It doesn't matter what our jobs are. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter who we are. It doesn't matter how much money we have. It doesn't matter. Those are all irrelevant, because once the change comes, it's going to take everyone the same. Just like the pandemic, it's going to treat us all the same. People who are running businesses, people who are building, people who are living in those buildings, it really doesn't make a difference who we are and where we are. And this is a responsibility not just for one, this is a responsibility for all. We are doing our part. We think this is our best solution. This is what we could come up with. This is the best we could do. This is where we could spend hundreds of millions of dollars for R&D, testing, and coming up with products. But I'm sure there are a lot of other good ideas, and we are here to collaborate. We are not here to compete. We are not here to block everyone else from getting into market. We have had requests from other companies into the PV market to help them with installation, to help them with design services, to help them with certificates. We do that. We still do it, and we want to do it more in the future. Our goal is to accelerate this adaptation, and we keep going at it until we have secured a better future for our kids. All the buildings that are built before 1990s, they are not ready for EV. We have thousands of buildings in every city in Canada, US, and around the world. Millions of these buildings are not ready for the EV market. One of the solutions we have at Mitrex is the retrofit option. In our retrofit option, as soon as they retrofit the exterior of the building, sometimes after 30, 40 years, these buildings, they require a retrofit, and that's when we can step in. The cladding and the windows, they can be retrofitted into a solar application. All of a sudden, we have these microgrid, small type of grid buildings that they can actually charge EV cars now. Buildings that are designed in the 1970s, now they are able to charge the electric vehicles without taking anything from the grid. This is all sustainable within the building. Our way of looking at this solution have gone through rigorous testing and making sure that these options are available and they are affordable. So this is one of the other advantages of using Mitrex on retrofit. is to transform the buildings. Some of the provinces in Canada, such as BC, they already have implemented the new regulations that every single building that's going for permit, it has to be wired for electric chargers and electric vehicles. And that's something we need to see. We need to see that change, not just for one or two province or city. This has to be implemented everywhere. Anyone who's going to build a new building, they should implement the wiring infrastructure within the building. And as soon as people are adopting to new EV, this will accelerate the adaptation even faster. If we want to see a better future, we have to make sure this integration is done, that we can use electric vehicles that are using renewable energy, which is generated from the building itself. Microgrid, DC power buildings are the future of the building and construction. One of the areas that we are entering in the next few weeks and releasing our product is solar panel for houses. We have designed and developed these solar panels that they can blend in with the existing roof structure. They can be installed using the same brackets, and they are basically frameless. Same wiring, same inverter without the frame, and they also look like shingles, and they also look like slate and any other face of the roof that exists on that structure. That's our way of looking at housing market. Our target is mostly on bigger structures and high-rise buildings, but we are releasing products in other market segments to hopefully have a bigger impact on the global warming and reducing the cost of electricity and energy for the residential market. At Mitrex, our mission is to accelerate the adaptation of energy-generating buildings that are integrated into all human-made structures. Rapid, low-cost, sustainable manufacturing is achievable, is here, and it's real, and it's our way to the future.